Hemingway, A Life of Storm and Legend. Ernest Hemingway stands in the great sea of American literature like a big ship that has sailed through many storms. His life was full of danger, blood, adventure, and deep struggle inside his heart. He was born on July 21, 1899, in Oak Park, Illinois, a quiet town near Chicago. The town looked peaceful, but his life would move in strong and wild waves. His father, Clarence Hemingway, was a strict doctor who loved hunting and fishing. His mother, Grace Hall, was a musician who forced all her children to learn piano and cello. From a young age, Hemingway had a wild and rebellious nature. He did not like his mother's style, which felt fake to him, but he admired his father, who took him to the forests near Lake Michigan. There he learned how to shoot, fish, and camp. These early days planted a seed inside him, a desire for nature, danger, and freedom. This seed later grew into the spirit of a man who always wanted adventure and never felt satisfied with an ordinary life. In 1917, after he finished high school, World War I was burning across Europe. Hemingway was only 18, but he wanted to join the fight. His eyesight was too poor, so he could not join the army. Instead, he became an ambulance driver for the Red Cross and went to the Italian front in 1918. The battlefield was like hell. Bombs fell like rain, and the trenches were full of the smell of death. On July 8th, during the Battle of Fasalta, Hemingway was giving chocolate to soldiers when a mortar shell exploded near him. More than 200 pieces of metal tore into his legs. His knees were shattered and blood covered the ground. Even with his terrible wounds, he carried another injured soldier on his back and crawled 50 meters while machine gun bullets hit him again. His bravery earned him the Italian Silver Medal of Valor. But the pieces of metal stayed in his body for the rest of his life, always reminding him of the pain of war. This experience shaped him deeply and later became the foundation of his famous iceberg theory, simple words on the surface, but heavy truth hidden underneath. After the war, Hemingway returned to America. His body hurt and his spirit felt empty. He tried working as a journalist in Chicago, and later moved to Toronto to write for the Toronto Star. By then his talent was clear, his style was simple, sharp and able to show the true heart of life. But he felt restless, he wanted a larger world. In 1921, he married Hadley Richardson, a pianist 8 years older than he was. She became his first source of support. Together they moved to Paris, the center of literature in the 1920s. Paris changed him forever. In the cafés of Montparnasse, he met great writers such as Gertrude Stein, F. Scott Fitzgerald, and Ezra Pound. They drank, argued, and talked about art. Stein told him writing should be like an iceberg, one part on top, 7 parts hidden. Hemingway worked at a newspaper during the day and wrote in his small apartment at night. His first book of short stories, In Our Time, 1925, shocked the literary world. It showed the broken hearts and lost souls left behind by war. But Paris also hid a storm in his personal life. In 1926, Hemingway published The Sun Also Rises, a novel set during Spain's bullfighting festival. It told the story of young people lost in alcohol, love, and confusion after the war. The main character, Jake Barnes, was injured in the war and could no longer have sex. This symbolized the emotional wounds of an entire generation. The book made Hemingway suddenly famous. But fame also brought pain. His wife Hadley discovered his affair with Pauline Pfeiffer, a journalist. Their marriage exploded like a bomb. Hemingway divorced Hadley and married Pauline in 1927. They had 2 sons, but the marriage also held seeds of future trouble. In 1929, he published A Farewell to Arms, based on his own wartime experience. It told the story of a soldier whose lover dies while giving birth. The heavy rain in the final scene showed Hemingway's feeling that life can be cruel, and humans often have no power to fight fate. The book sold extremely well, but some critics said his writing was too cold. During the 1930s, Hemingway's life became even wilder. He moved to Key West, Florida, and bought a boat called the Pillar. There he began a life full of deep-sea fishing and hunting. He sailed into the waters near Cuba, fighting sharks and catching huge marlin. He also traveled to the savannas of Africa to hunt lions and elephants. These adventures later became his book Green Hills of Africa, 1935, a hunting diary filled with both blood and thoughts about life. But a bigger storm was waiting. In 1936, the Spanish Civil War began. Hemingway went to Spain as a war reporter and supported the Republican side. He saw Madrid bombed by fascist forces, and he wrote the film's script The Spanish Earth to help raise money for their fight. During this time, he fell in love with another journalist, Martha Gellhorn, a brave woman who also went to the front lines. In 1940, he divorced Pauline and married Martha. Their marriage was full of passion, but also full of conflict, because both of them lived fast, dangerous lives. World War II pushed Hemingway to both his highest and lowest points. In 1940, he published For Whom the Bell Tolls, a novel about an American volunteer who dies in the Spanish Civil War. The book sold more than 1 million copies and was nominated for the Pulitzer Prize. But more than money or prizes, the novel showed Hemingway's strong stand against fascism. In 1941, after Japan attacked Pearl Harbor, Hemingway turned the Pillar into a patrol boat. He sailed through the Caribbean hunting German submarines. It was very dangerous. He even came close to fighting a U-boat at short distance, with bullets passing near him. In 1944, he went to Europe as a war reporter again. He went ashore during the D-Day landings in Normandy and later entered Paris with a group of fighters. He carried a machine gun and shouted, "Paris is free." This moment became part of his legend. But these battles also hurt him many times. He suffered concussions, broken bones, and long-term damage to his brain. After the war, his marriage with Martha ended. In 1946, he married his fourth wife, Mary Welsh, a British journalist. This marriage lasted until the end of his life, but it was troubled by heavy drinking and loud arguments. In the 1950s, Hemingway reached the high point of his career, but also the beginning of his collapse. In 1952, he published The Old Man and the Sea, the story of a Cuban fisherman named Santiago who fights a giant fish for 3 days and nights. Even though he loses the fish in the end, he keeps his pride. This short novel showed Hemingway's belief a person can be destroyed, but not defeated. The book won the 1953 Pulitzer Prize, and in 1954 he received the Nobel Prize in Literature. The Nobel Committee praised his powerful art of storytelling, but Hemingway was too sick to attend the ceremony. Around this time, he became obsessed with hunting in Africa. In 1954, he and Mary were in 2 plane crashes in Uganda. The first plane hit a pole and fell from the sky. The second rescue plane caught fire and had to make an emergency landing. They were trapped in the jungle, fighting pain and heat. Newspapers around the world even reported that Hemingway had died. But he survived almost like a miracle. However, he suffered terrible injuries. His head, spine, liver, and kidneys were damaged. After this, he had constant pain, trouble sleeping, and depression. In his final years, Hemingway lived like a wounded lion. He moved to Ketchum, Idaho, hoping the quiet mountains would help him write again. But the injuries to his brain made it hard for him to think clearly. His drinking got worse. He went to the hospital several times and received electric shock treatments. These treatments erased parts of his memory, which made his sadness even deeper. In 1960, he went to Spain to watch bullfighting again. But there he saw a close friend die in the ring. This made him feel that life was slipping away from him. On the morning of July 2, 1961, Hemingway took a shotgun in his home and ended his own life. He was 62 years old. His death was tragic, but it also felt like something he had written many times, a hero who refuses to grow weak, a man who will not surrender. Hemingway's life was never a calm river. It was a wild and powerful current. He rose from the fire of war, shined brightly in the world of literature, and fell in the middle of adventure and pain. His works, such as The Snows of Kilimanjaro, ask deep questions about death and regret. His influence reached many younger writers, including Norman Mailer and Gabriel Garcia Marquez. Hemingway was not a saint. He had his problems, he drank too much. He believed too strongly in being a tough man. And he hurt people he loved, but all these storms made him the legend he is today. On his grave there are no grand words. Only a simple line, "Forgive me, I loved this land." And this land includes the battlefield, the ocean, the mountains of Africa, and the deepest places inside a human heart.